Good morning. Nope. No stream today. No storm today. No stream. I already messed up. But that's what we always do, right? Hi. Hi, welcome. Welcome. But yeah, can you hear me? Can you see me? You can. Okay. Now, I have absolutely no idea how loud I can be, because my sister is right next door, in the next room sleeping, and I don't want to wake her up. So I will not be as loud as last time. Just checking everything is fine. Should be. Can you hear me well if I'm not shouting? Because I don't see any answers yet. Turn up the volume. That might work. So yes, we are here to read chapter 26, and I'm also kinda half asleep. Have we to say farewell for our friends? No, we are not. We are definitely not ready to do that. We just faced a big battle. We stopped the Dark Star to get its influence out. At least we restricted it. And the master is dead. Kinda. But the question is he gonna reincarnate in the Pony universe, or the human universe, or somewhere else? Because he's not that dead. That's for sure. And he had a change of heart. Only one change of heart, the other heart is still evil. So, are we ready to start? Let's see, how long is this chapter? 30,000 words. Wow, I just noticed it's the same length as the last chapter. It's exactly the same length. 30,011 words. Gain shift the eyes and whistles innocently. Ready to start. I don't like what they did here. There is a stupid line. I'm gonna show you this. This is what I see right now. This stupid line right here is always running through that I'm live. It's so annoying. It looks like I'm loading or something. No, that's new. Didn't even happen last time. I think. But I guess let's just start. I can't do anything about that. Me, your mother, Derpy, Vision, and Doctor all gathered in the TARDIS. All of our original gang. You were there too, just outside the door, but you hadn't stepped inside, nor will I tell you what you had said or did. What you had said or did during this next encounter. It was a somber affair, anyway. For you see, the master was already starting to regenerate. Felamin technically pulled the red crystal and the Whisklow free from the master's hoof into his. Oh yeah, that's a duplicate red crystal, I remember now. He examined the Whisk crystal and found it was perfectly intact, except a great deal of his magic had been drained. The Master used it to secure an entrance for the TARDIS. Father Wind was saving that energy to save the Crystal Empire, and instead it was used to save the world. Well, that's a fair deal. Now he had built up the energy. He had to build up the energy all over again. I see. So the Master was not a time clone all along either. If he was, he would simply fade away rather than regenerate, and you knew this would happen. So this was your true plan all along. Halloween gasped as he looked at the Doctor. You two were actually in cahoots together in this whole time, and only pretended to fight. What? Win the Darkstar's trust or something? I truly left nothing to chance. The Doctor reported somberly. I brought all the rest of you to help me defeat the Darkstar. I knew it would take a lot of energy to pull it off. Even I suspected it would take more energy than I could ever pull into the TARDIS. I could not just disrupt the lives of every creature that ever will exist on the planet and pull them here as a time clone. It took enough energy as it was to create the time clones I did bring. That's still a lot of time clones though. I needed them to help me fight our way up to the dark side itself, for I definitely expected heavy physical and spiritual and psychological resistance. In the end, however, I also knew it would take far more power to defeat the Dark Star than I could possibly recruit within this machine, so I came up with this strategy. Just realized that if he didn't brought the Flurry Heart, then this fight would be meaningless. They would have not reached the Dark Star at all without the Crystal Heart. I needed the TARDIS itself to be here during the final battle, but this is where the corruption is at its strongest. I needed something here to pave the way for its entrance, and for that, we decided to pull a trick on the Dark Star. With the amount of power it had, the Dark Star could have easily thwarted any direct attempt to just summon the TARDIS here. So that's why we did it in a moment. It was too distracted to defending itself. One way to make sure to win a game, my friend, is to secretly play both sides of the game. If your primary opponent is secretly working for you, then there is no way you can actually lose the game. No, you can both win and lose at the same time, but yeah, that makes sense. But why was that necessary, Doc? The appeared in confusion. Because if I didn't make sure that our primary antagonist was a secret ally, then the Dark Star would choose another champion in his place only. This time, the opponent would totally be against us. What did I say when we saw the time clones and Father Wind actually realized that he's the master? I said, he is a bait. And he was. I know the master. He and I go way back. I knew he was evil enough to trick the Dark Star into thinking he was an ally to it, but I also knew he cared for his daughter, and would not wish to see her come to harm, so I also knew he had his secret loyalty. You give me too much credit. The master spat in alliance, then coughed out blood again. He did that for several seconds. The Doctor once again aimed his sonic screwdriver at the master and planted a sonic beam. This time, however, it was not to save the master's life, it was to ease his suffering. Thank you, the master said more calmly. He was trained to look sleepy. At the same time, his body was glowing with brighter and brighter golden energy. He breathed softly, only occasionally coughing. Then he said, I did this because I do not like sharing power. The master explained with a bit of evil grin. The Dark Star had far too much power to share. It could have easily had a sway over anything I wanted to conquer. If there is one thing I can stand more than the Doctor, it's another despot. Depot. I don't know how to say that word. I never knew how to say that word.
Despot.
It's just despot? Okay. It's another despot trying to steal my thunder. He coughed. I resumed. I could not trust the Dark Star to stay loyal to me. It's too stupid. It would unerringly be drawn to any dark creature and offer them just as much power. Then it would stand back and watch who comes out on top. Except that, no matter who wins, it would repeat this cycle over and over again. I knew the struggle would never stop, so I decided to get rid of my opponent from the equation entirely. My daughter is incidental. Now you give yourself too little credit, my friend, the Doctor said kindly. Master shrugged a bit. In this case, you may be right. He winced in tight pain as he glowed brighter. He acted as if his own regeneration energy hurt him. Was getting yourself killed part of your plan too? Following asked the Master curiously. Doctor glared at somebody outside the door as he said, not really, no. He looked back at the Master. Fortunately, in this case, he didn't hit both of his hearts. As long as he endures, he will survive, but not as he is now. He will regenerate and gain a new face. Shame that, the Master lamented. I kind of like Karchak. He was devious and suave. He also built up a great financial empire in Las Pegasus. When I change, I will lose sight to his identity, so I may have to start from scratch. He winced tightly again as he flared even brighter golden energy. It's not long now. Go find Takeshy and bring her here, Doctor called to the one standing outside the door. To the one standing outside the door, so it was Starbreeze, right? She needs to see this. This is a family affair. The one standing outside the door is me, right? Starbreeze in the future checked with her father. He felt reluctant to admit this, but eventually said, yes, Starbreeze is done. Would you do it? Would you fetch Trixie and allow her to share one last moment with her dying father? Heck no! Just kidding, obviously. Before that, let me ask you something. Why would I kill the Master if I learned he was secretly on our side? That doesn't make any sense, Starbreeze said with a little bit of guilt on her face. Actually, I don't know the answer to the question, Halloween said honestly. It's likely caused by hearing of your own timeline in advance. You created a fixed point in reality. I think that's what the Doctor would say. There's a danger in finding out about your own future. Once you read it out, it must occur. That's why I'm trying to give the power over your destiny right back to you, as much as I possibly can, by letting you decide now what you will do in this story. It's also possible to learn other reasons for doing this during your own adventures with the Doctor, reasons that might help to eventually explain your actions on that day. And that is naturally something you can't account for today. I am kind of wanted to see if she's saying something that she didn't do in that reality, and she would just say, oh yes, I killed the Master, and then the whole sky turns grey, the Dark Star reappears in the future, and everything dies in that moment when she says that. It could happen, he sounds upset with me. Starby's complained. So why would I do this? He would kick me out of the TARDIS for this. I didn't know this would happen. You certainly would not be welcome with this version of the Doctor, but there are others in his further future. Likely by then, he had a chance to calm down and think things through and realize what you did on that day you had to do. I think he eventually forgave you and invited you to go off an adventure to stars only know where or when. Time travel had to have occurred for you to be there in the first place, so the situation had to resolve itself somehow. It may be there yet remains more secrets to uncover about your future, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It means there remains more mysteries for you to uncover. We already know what happens during that particular moment, but not necessarily why or how. Now I'm pretty sure that Starpiece will definitely go out and ask the Doctor to go to the gender change planet just to experience what her parents did. I see. Starpiece said somebody. It wasn't this version of the Doctor that drew you to this timeline anyway. Had I been explained? Or maybe you did, but you encountered another version of him first. Suddenly he confused himself, then waved the whole issue off. Anyway, you will find out the details when you get there. In the meantime, I must ask you again. Do you think your future self would obey the Doctor's request and fetch Takeshy? Okay, and the Doctor does not have an issue with that planet other than the fact that the last time it got somewhat interrupted. Yep, that's true. I think I would do it just to see her face when he changes. Starby said fascinated, then amended. Yes, I would do it. The reasons aren't important right now. I will figure out when I get there. Wow. Starby is actually a little devious here. Atta girl, Featherwind said proudly, then toed back. Featherwind heard the outside the part, presumably to do as the Doctor requested. It turned out that didn't take long. Trixie responded so quickly, one would think she was already standing right there. Oh, did she appear in a puff of blue smoke? Starby asked excitedly. Oh please tell me she appeared in a puff of blue smoke. Actually yeah, she did. Behold, the great and powerful Trixie has arrived to save you all from the imminent bottom. Trixie declared, dramatically upon arrival. I have to be careful with Trixie because she can be loud. After coughing a bit because of the blue smoke, Stemming glared at Trixie. Do you mind? Your father is dying right now. Have some respect. Oh, that. Trixie decided looked at her father dryly. That doesn't matter, does it? You said he would just regenerate and basically come back to life anyway. Yeah, but not as he is. Oh, Vision. Vision pointed out. This is the last time you will ever see him like this. Even his kitty mark will change. You are losing your father today. After today, he will be somebody else. Oh! Now Trixie looked a lot more remorseful, but only to a point, given to a turbulent history with her father. She sat down near him. So, father, you got a last request and stuff? Just one. Leave. The monster sat with a growl of annoyance. Trixie stared at her father for a moment, then struck carelessly. Well, if that's what you want. Yes, it is. I don't want you to see me change. The master said, you are the only one. I don't want to see me change. Trixie almost got up, but that last sentence made her hesitate. She looked back at her father questioningly. Me? Why just me? Because he loves you. We remember that Vision is an empath. Trust me, I'm an empath. I know these things. And I'm aware of that ability. You think I don't know how to fool your senses? The master challenged Vision. Deceive others if you wish, but I see into the future, into the true depths of others' hearts. Vision returned. You can't fool me, not when it comes to your deepest feelings. The master growled at that, and then complained. Cheater, you sucked the fun out of a good game of deception. That's what I said to her too many times too. That's true. Doctor agreed. Vision shrugged. It's what I do. But to tell you the truth, if you have a passive skill like that of being an empath, you can't choose to not see it. It's like if you had a skill to read someone's mind, but you couldn't control it. It would be a nuisance because you would hear everyone's thoughts at the same time. It's something you do. You just can't change it. She just learned how to live with it. The master cringed, and the other in agony as he rode off to his side, away from his daughter, as he growled with much brighter flair. At that point, the crystal spear had been removed and his chest already repaired due to his own regeneration, but the process was not finished with him yet. He's in pain? Takeshy raised in alarm and looked at the doctor. Can't you do anything for him? You are a doctor, are you not? Yes, but not just medically. The doctor said as he waved his sonic screwdriver up and down the master's body. I'm afraid all I can do now for him is ease his suffering a bit. Everyone of our race goes through this in this process. It's like emerging from cocoon to become a butterfly. This transformation is severe and painful to emerge from. Father! Takeshy cried out in alarm, and she saw him again, bright in agony, as another bright flare of energy projected from him. He was about to bend down and scoop up his hoof, but Featherwind caught her in a telekinetic aura and forcefully drove her back, to which she complained. What are you doing? Let go of me! He needs me! But we can tell that these are Takeshy's true emotions seeping through, because she would definitely see that he needs to create Takeshy. I read this process can be dangerous for us if you draw too close. Featherwind cautioned and looked at the doctor. Right, doctor? It's a lie. That's a lie. It can be. The doctor said as he continued to wave his sonic screwdriver frantically. Actually, it can heal you if you are injured, but if you're not injured, it can cause damage instead. It's like shocking the heart. It helps if it stops, as it stops the heart when it's working fine. If all you are perfectly healthy right now, then stand back. Father! Takeshy wailed as she was pulled other way against the wall of the office. From there, she did not resist too much, but she was still reaching towards her father. Go, Takeshy, the master cried in pain. I want this to be the last way you remember me. No, she wailed. I will not leave you, father, not like you left my mother. Your mother. Master relaxed temporarily as nostalgia seeped into him. Sparkling margarita. Now there was one bang-up girl. She knew how to party and give a gentlecoat a good time. He choked a bit. Good times. Is that more compassion I hear in your voice? Doctor teased, but he was honestly quite hopeful. Not exactly. Oh, that's Vision. Not exactly, Vision said. What I'm detecting this time isn't love. It's more like predatory and primary ownership. And I do sense he had fun with her. I dare not to say how. The master rolled onto his back as he looked upwards. A hoof rested gently on his forehead. She wasn't the only one I hung out with, but she knew how to show a court a good night out in the town. She was special to me in one regard, however. She gave me a daughter. I probably could have easily dismissed her into the trash like yesterday's newspaper. It weren't for that. But because she gave birth to my daughter, she became something I never had with any of my other flirts. At first, I didn't want it. I was even tempted to kill her and you for it. But something stayed in my hand. Something stayed in my hand. Your what? Takeshy asking in sudden confusion. This right here. It's kind of a lame where they come from, but I mean explain to Takeshy. It's normally located in the upper part of the body and attached to the shoulders. It permits them to grasp things. Oh, so it's alien and gross? Takeshy figured out. Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Fit up inside, then said, pretty much, yeah. I did not read that line before. I think at first my mind spun with possibilities. Then must I rambled on. I tried to rationalize my thoughts. Why would I not wish to kill you? Maybe I could use you in some evil scheme somehow. Perhaps bring me back to life. Or maybe I could possess you. So many possibilities. Great minds think alike. I bet there was one that didn't occur to you back then. Though it very well may be the truth. Doctor approached. Save your sickening speeches, Doctor. The master said in irritation. I'm in no mood for. Gah! He rolled over again, as he flashed far more brightly. This is it, folks. Doctor warned as he waved for everyone to back off. Here it comes. Doctor, I beat you. The master growled intensely and instantly. You will see. I had my own plan as well. That's the only thing we share together. Don't you mean I will beat you? Quill? Be at peace. Be at peace, my friend. Doctor said little sadly. It will be over soon. The master doubled over as his energy momentarily shrank around his body and it exploded out from him in a brilliant flare, especially around his hands and limbs. Oh, that's what you meant. Doctor, omae mo shindeiru. Then it makes sense. Well. And the plan is Takeshy. During that whole time, he was constantly shouting out, "Father!" Takeshy cried out desperately. Then she just cried. I believe even Takeshy was not aware how much she cared for him. Sometimes one never knows such things until it's gone. That is the sad, cruel fate of the world sometimes. I also remember thinking that Takeshy's mere existence helped to save the world back then. If it weren't for her, the master might have been honestly more tempted to join the Dark Star for her. Something stayed his hoof from doing that, just like something held him back from killing his daughter when she was born. It was an emotion he was not familiar with, so he did not know how to identify it. It made him behave strangely, and he likely had not liked it. It made him feel weak, at least to his perspective, yet he could not bear to part with the gift he gained. Certainly, I, at this point, know how profound fatherhood can feel. I haven't thought back then. Except for me, it was something to look forward to. I have to ask something, Quill. I don't remember, but does the doctor has any kids? Did he get any child that we know of in the series? Because I don't remember if there's any mention to it. I think this whole process lasted about 12 seconds from the point of the brilliant explosion started. His face started to change around the 8th second, but none of it was clear until the process was done. When it was done, he bent over again. His mane became a lot thicker and bushier, and it was deep scarlet this time. Also, a little baby. Yes, and Red Kids. We see her in the first episode. Which first episode? The first episode, or the first episode of the new season? He does have, but they never appeared in the show. Okay. Oh, they did, and they didn't know about that. Oh, I didn't see the first episode then. I didn't see the first, I don't know, 5 doctors, or how many were there. Sometime I plan to start from the very first episode and do it all over again. Makes sense. If it was original, it started as an allegation, like the Magic School Bus. Wow, you are making me feel nostalgic. The Magic School Bus. I watched that a lot of times as a kid. She was there for two seasons. Then the actress quit because she did not like the direction her character was going, being too dependent. Yeah, that's sometimes something they didn't like, but oof. The actress quitting because she didn't like the character. That's the director's fault. I can tell you that's the director's fault right there. For not speaking with her. She was there for about 2 seasons, yep. Father? Takeshy cried out tentatively. The new figure before them remained bent over for a while, so it was hard to tell anything else, but eventually he uncovered himself enough to tell the fact he had in fact become a she. Well, she said as he breathed in deep. This is certainly interesting. It was black and white at the time. Yeah, and back then it was not that easy to get the actresses and actors to just swap. I mean, if it was the doctor's daughter, that means they could have made a change easily of the actress. Oh yeah, she regenerated, but they didn't do it then, it seems. Oh, granddaughter, okay. The new mare before them appeared just a little bit under middle age, but approaching it. It was very mature body, but not quite old yet. She had thicker eyebrows and thicker lips. Her coat was almost white this time, but it was a bit darker, more like ivory. She touched her face to explore its new shape, then settled her attention on her lips. They requested, "Will somebody get me a mirror?" Don't think they thought of the regeneration of it at the time. It was proposed for first time when they replaced William's character for the second Doctor. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. They didn't kill her off, right? They just said that the doctor just went off and he left her there. Something like that, right? No, wait. They did kill her off then, because the Doctor and the Master and the last two Time Lords. Don't tell me you're going to Mata Doctor shipping? My father is my mother? Takeshy exclaimed in shock, as she looked severely taken aback. Her eyes grew small, and her mouth hung open crookedly. I told you, your father is dead now, John said bluntly. And your mother is still your mother. Father been corrected. This person is somebody else. Mirror? The master demanded more firmly. Doctor shook his head to clear it. Your assistance is required, Miss Hobbs. But Derby could not move. She just remained suspended, with one eye focused on the new map before her, and the other eye lazily drifted away. Her mouth hung wide open, slug-jawed. Due to her reaction, Father Wind primarily suspected that this was the first time the mare has ever seen a Time Lord regenerate. Considering the fact that she met the Doctor before Father Wind did, Father Wind personally considered this observation noteworthy. I regret it, stammering her fat, then looked around trying to get her bearings again. It had been 10 years since she was lost in this place, but she managed to find her way around without too much difficulty. Wait, 10 years since they first arrived in this place. I remember it was like 1 year to make the crystal plot armor, 7 years to get to the Dark Star, and the other 2 years are just fighting off lesser evils. So, Doctor, how do I look? The master asked by leaning back on the console behind her. Like, very good, I would say. All the chapters was called 80 years later, then last 2 years found them marching up to the start. Wait, only 2 years? Wasn't it 7 years? Marching to the Dark Star? Or was it 7 months? I just... We will check that later. We will proof check later. March is only 2 years, okay. Why, Doctor? We must have had several furry eyelashes toward him. Are you blushing? Doctor rubbed the back of his neck and seemed embarrassed and uncomfortable. I don't know. Am I? Doctor fears girls sometimes, Vision reported. He feels they young upon him occasionally. Really? The master smiled towards us deviously. That's good to know. You didn't have to talk about that, Doctor complained to Vision in a loud whisper. A mare always knows the stallion's weaknesses, Doctor. Vision sat back to him. She would have found out anyway. But you could have given me that head start, Doctor complained more tightly. Whose side are you on? Why, Doctor? I used to feel a little bit ganged up upon. The master teased in a husky voice. What in the hey, Vision? Now look what you started! The Doctor cried out in irritation. Suddenly the master spun about and flipped through several contours of the TARDIS. The machine came to life for a moment, then died back down again. The master sighed, then peered narrowly at the Doctor, who was aiming an everything sonic screwdriver at the console. This stallion is not so slow in the race after all, now, is he? Doctor taunted with a crooked grin to his frenemy. I'm not gonna say anything. I just realized that would be not YouTube friendly. Now that the master is female. And this line. I knew that. The master sighed with irritation. I was just testing you, see if you were still alert. Now you are so... What? You passed the test, I guess. You were going to leave. You were just going to leave our friends? And I've been there in disbelief. Your daughter is still standing here, you know. Not my daughter anymore, Madame said dismissively. I would have taken care of her eventually. Just then, she noticed something else. She looked back at her fang. It was blank. It made her frown. Ah, it's a new life. You will have to discover... Oh, it's not her. You will have to discover your own special talent all over again. Vision informed, responding to the feelings she sensed from the master. And also what she saw from her sonar vision. Yeah, it's just like I will miss that raw talent. It had such flair. Master said a little tremulously. Takeshy just could not talk anymore. All she could do was shift her eyes to each pony that spoke, otherwise she remained frozen with her expression stuck in intense surprise. Here's your mirror, Starving said, as she came into the room with it. Did I just hear the TARDIS about to start up? Yes, our new friend decided to test my reflexes. I passed. The Doctor bragged proudly. Good to know. Starving placed the mirror in front of the master and warned firmly. I'm keeping an eye on you. You know, your boyfriend said that to me not too long ago. Yeah. Yep, and he flopped. He flopped the test. The master remarked as she tilted her head back and forth to look at herself from different angles in front of the mirror. Better be careful or he might get jealous of your newfound attention towards me. Oh please, you can't compete with me, Starving said smugly and dismissively. Oh, the master flashed something in the bush wing. I like you. I don't think the feeling is mutual, yet. Starving said in a warning tone. Even better, I like the challenge. The master said Starving, then resumed, examining herself. Starving meanwhile rolled her eyes in disgust. So, what do you think of the pony universe? Doctor asked the master, with a rising edge of excitement in his voice. He had been waiting a long time to ask some pony who could actually understand the question. What is sickening? The master answered with disgust, then gave the doctor a dull look. Come on, the universe with magical talking horses, flying Pegasus and unicorns? Whatever sick, twisted imagination came up with this universe probably has the mind of a child, and a little girl at that. I mean, come on, I've literally seen a pink fluffy unicorn dancing on rainbows. I did not sing that. But yep, she literally did so that. It must have grew a bit alarmed as she observed Doctor and she trotted right up to her. Feeling slightly uncomfortable and invaded, she took an unconscious step back and asked, What? You said child instead of fool. Doctor said as tears of joy rose into his eyes. Yeah, so? The doctor suddenly embraced the master in grateful hug that made her freeze up, and then grew a dull, annoyed look in her eyes. As Zara continued, he cried out, You're a child! You're a child! At last I am not alone in this universe! Get off me! The master ordered tightly. I still hate you, Doctor! I'm sorry. Doctor apologized as he backed off and wiped tears from his eyes. It's just that I've been so surrounded until you came along. You're a wonderful blessing to me, and I admit it. He darted away as he called back to her over his right shoulder. You love me too, right? Do you want to have childs? Children, it's not childs. Nostar could not say it. But there was a bit of fond look that crept into his eyes, into her eyes, and her grin towards Doctor. I want to ask you something, Dad. Something. Why are all of these so jazzy? I have no idea. There we go. I want to ask you something, Dad. Stubby is broached. Actually, it's more of an observation. Once you told me a while back that every villain you met had a trace of redeemable features about them. So what about the Dark Star? Or the Dragon Fang? I believe what I told you was that every pony villain I have ever met had traces of redeemable qualities. He might actually have a point about Fang, or at least as far as I understood him. But Dark Star is a matter of more complicated philosophy when it comes to morality. If you really stop and think about it, the Dark Star came from the Black Sun, which, as far as my understanding is concerned, the Black Sun was actually a sentient black hole. It was an innocent victim of its own circumstance. The Black Sun was just a normal black hole until it started devouring magical and sentient star. You are about a minute behind now. As in turn, awakened its own intelligence. Intelligence awakened, like that would only understand two things: darkness and hunger. As far as morality was concerned, however, it never understood the difference in the first place. If you could float up to the Black Sun and accuse it to its face, "You are evil," then the Black Sun would innocently shrug and respond, "Okay, if you say so. I don't know the meaning of the word evil, and I don't know pieces of comparison to make counter arguments, so for now I accept your word by default because I don't know how any better." All the Black Sun understood was its own nature, since it had always existed in that state as far as back as it could remember. Then the state was its own definition of the word normal. From the Black Sun's perspective, we are the ones who are evil because we are behaving in a matter contrary to the Black Sun's definition of the normal. In its eyes, it doesn't have eyes. Attempting to corrupt and consume more life was a matter of salvation. And since the Black Sun, and by extension of the Dark Star, was unable to experience light, goodness, and hope, then the truth was it didn't really have free will. It was stuck in its ways, like a train on a track. Since it couldn't even change its own course, it was really a victim of its own circumstance. Being a victim or being understandable doesn't always equate to the redeemable. The Black Sun and the Dark Star didn't even have seen that as necessary. Instead, it is we who can apply light and goodness towards them by forgiving them for their sins, for they truly do not know what they do. What do you think happened to the Black Sun after it finished its primary food source that fed it life? Stubbies asked curiously. Featherwing leaned back as he thought about it, then answered, "I'm not really sure, but I've narrowed it down to two possibilities. Either it's still out there, plotting how to consume everything else, or more likely it consumed its own intelligence when it lost the source that gave it sentience in the first place. In which case, it probably devolved back into the normal black hole. Having nothing else left to satiate its hunger, I believe it turned to the last morsel it could think of. But before you go thinking about how sorry you feel for it, remember that, even in this circumstance, it probably still had not considered itself a victim. It was most likely masochistic enough to enjoy its own suffering. If you went back in time to try to save it at some point, it would beg you to stop, instead of claiming that devouring its own mind was fun then. When the last shred of its ego was devoured, it became empty of all thoughts, which in some way equates to purity and divinity. In a way, it achieved its own form of enlightenment by getting rid of all thoughts, including negative thoughts. Ever since then, it existed as a normal black hole again. Black holes, I have learned, serve a very important and invaluable role in the universe. They do crush and consume everything that draws too close, but they also create powerful gravity fields around them that serve both as stability and movement for the rest of the galaxy around them. They are the glue that holds things together. Without black holes, each galaxy would tear itself apart, or celestial bodies would just drift away in space, and more it does so, the colder and darker things would become. United we live, divided we fall. We must be grateful to black holes. Without their invaluable contribution, life would not have evolved in the first place. I don't think that's true. That's my own taking, because well, if the it's kinda true, but not fully. The galaxy would not tear itself apart if it wasn't for black holes, but it helps keeping it together. Because obviously not just the dark stars have their own gravity field, everything has their own gravity field, like the sun, which will go around, and not the celestial unicorn raising it. Well, in that universe, I guess that makes a lot more sense then, because there are some stupid unicorns who are moving the suns and the moons around. Right, Quill? Now I see this a little bit differently. That I know how physics works. So yes, in the Pony universe, dark stars. I said dark stars, but black holes are the one thing that is keeping the universe in place. And you would like this music, by the way, because it is called The Rest of the Heart. It makes sense that I would use this, right? Compared what many consider the opposite of black hole, and that is the stars in the sky. They emit light instead of darkness, and they project energy instead of sucking it in. It is their warmth and energy that helps breathe life, in other words, and the gravity of the stars produce also fascinating stability and motion. Just like a black hole, however, the stars become drawn out later for multiple reasons if you draw anywhere near them in outer space unprotected. So, you see, the very thing that can cause life can also take it away, and none of it has to do with conscious morality. I also have found nature itself to exist with similar checks and balances, even at microscopic levels. This slide here reminds me of one of the chapters when every planet in the universe became way too close to the Earth. So I guess this is right. So you see, the matter of this whole issue was quite complicated. In the shadow plane, the dark star still thinks it's doing us favor by trying to corrupt us into darkness. It's genuinely confused why many of us refuse its dark gifts. Many things we should consider it a blessing, but each of us has a more evolved consciousness, and it's advanced enough to realize and make intelligent and informed choices based on the mind and based on the heart. When the dark star offers its gifts, nothing is forcing us to accept it. We can just refuse and instead forge our own path. In this case, it used to be a Santian black hole, just like Santian Unicorn moves from the stars. That's true. Does this answer your question? For now, yes. Stabby's answered. But I think I need more time to think about what you said and digest it. Right now I'm ready to listen more of your story. Fair enough. The land had not instantly recovered, just when the Dark Star disappeared. In fact, with less magic within the land compared to the future, it would take longer to recover than those from the future would normally expect. Still, this area had over 40,000 years to recover before catching up to the present, and almost every creature here knew that. Point of that, though, that was not fast enough for the TARDIS, just to warp out without protection. It seems, to me, we could have used the Crystal Heart for that all along. It honestly wasn't a bad idea, but in this case it could have agreed to report every creature back to Pandora, TARDIS and Dora. There was one friend we would be leaving behind, however, and it was one of our most recent companions. The Master's new incarnation? The Starbeast guess? No, it was the Crystal Carriage. Yes, because the Crystal Carriage is the thing that they are using to form the Crystal Empire, right? We all got together for one final moment to say goodbye to it. We did so by singing to it. Most of us joined in that song, but not all. I'm pretty sure the Master just rolled her eyes, and we did have to reintroduce her to the rest of our friends, but I'll get back to that later. It will probably fall apart, but I remember Sombra actually telling us that he had a calling for this crystal. It reminded him of the same crystal that was built, that he used to build the Crystal Empire. So it would make sense that they leave it there. The Crystal Carriage glowed with an ever-increasing prismatic shine. As we sang to it, towards the end of the song, it suddenly started to shrink and sink into the earth, possibly to help prepare the local environment back to a harmonious state. I will never forget what it looked like near the end of the transformation. It looked like a beautiful crystal tree, which several of my other friends told me was a tree of harmony, looked like, except at first it was missing the symbols on it. That's definitely not the tree of harmony though, because we know that the old six are the ones that planted that tree. And there was some thought that the Crystal Age would be the foundation of the Crystal Empire far later. Yep. Just before it sank into the earth for the final time, however, those symbols had appeared on its branches and trunk. Excuse me? I have to object. Right here. Because it shouldn't be the Tree of Harmony. Because we are at the same area at the Crystal Empire. And we know that this tree will be grown from the lost magical energy of the old main six. They appeared in a flash of different colored lights for each symbol, and they appeared one at a time, the symbol of magic flashing towards the top of the trunk. There was something I remember thinking at the time while I watched that. It was really more a feeling I got, and that feeling seemed to be a message from the tree just before it sank into the earth. If I were to put those feelings into words, it would translate lastly. I will remember what you have taught me, and I will be sure to pass on these messages throughout all the ages. Goodbye, my cherished friends. After that, I recall thinking that other starlight dust comets have crashed into the planet before, but none of them were as dedicated as this one, giant chunk. I recall also that the other comets burned up in the atmosphere far more than this one did. Also, this one was not more educated. No, it just sucked in the energy that you gave it to him. We called upon it, indeed, prayed upon it, as a large group of us gathered together to assist the Starsword's spell, which helped deal the final blow against the giant unliving dragon Fang. Starsword did not explain what he was casting at the time. I guess his friends trusted in him, but in every one of our friends' hearts, they prayed for salvation, and when Starsword opened a giant portal, this command was what came true. After that, we all touched it and imbued it with the essence of our spirit, including the future time clones copies of the elements of harmony, excluding kindness, until the very end when we sent it away. Then, it sank into the earth, and I had a feeling that this one crystal would teach the other starlight dust crystal the lesson it had learned. As the lesson continued to get passed on, the message and spirit of harmony covered the world. It took it a very long time to accomplish that goal, but we are living in an age that is a fusion of its tireless labor. Most of us were temporary time clones at the time, but we managed to not only save the world from malevolent force, but we also planted the seeds of benevolent force, which worked to our favor ever after. If my theory is correct, the pillars of destiny gave this force even more definition when they planted the seeds of their own spirits, which they later created the tree of harmony, but its essence lingered long before that. It existed in our land, our oceans, our rivers and lakes, our skies, everything, and most importantly, it existed in us, waiting to be born, so it could fulfill our promise. It made it so long ago to even greater effect. Essentially, we created a self-fulfilling prophecy. Okay, now I can take this. Okay, so this is the first seed that was planted of the elements of harmony. And the other seed that the old 6 planted got the nutrients from the old tree of harmony. So that tree of harmony that we see right now is not the same tree of harmony. But then again, we know time travel is really strange. Nothing happens without a reason. So if they didn't come here to plant a tree, to change the crystal into a tree of harmony, buried in deep underground, then the new tree of harmony wouldn't happen at all. Well, I said I would get back to this later, since this was a fact already completed. Before I get to the next part, I will go ahead and mention the fact Master was reintroduced to the rest of the party, and Doctor explained in full detail how his brilliant plan to help save the world. Around the time, Master also made seemingly spontaneous decision. She told everyone to call her Missy, until she could think of a better cover identity for her new self. Oh yeah, she needs a new name. Cover name. Of course, our friends felt a little reserved to welcome her back after her previous life's betrayal, but the explanation the doctor gave calmed their nerves somewhat, and the plan had ultimately succeeded in the end. Plus, I have to say, we are a very forgiving group. Those seeds are a never-evolving process. Among those outside the TARDIS, after Missy's transformation, Rarity was the first to approach the new mayor on friendly terms, and she did it by announcing that Missy's old tire was travesty for a mayor that must be corrected as soon as possible. Yep, I can see right doing that. Missy looked at her attire that actually agreed with the fashionista. Then claimed she would become Rarity's help to come up with a new, more appropriate attire to help match new life. So, with that out of the way, now we mention the fact that we were all whisked back to Pandora. The TARDIS was teleported back to the crystal cage that initially protected it, so it could enter this time period. It would need to remain there in order to gather strength necessary to warp out later on. Meanwhile, me, Twilight, and Starlight also met up with Sunburst once again to get a full report on what happened in the city while we were gone. Wait, who? Sabi is asking confusion. I did mention Sunburst briefly previously when he first entered the world. I thought he went with them. At the time, I think I only mentioned his name. Now I add the fact that he was a wizardly scholar that did not have that much talent for casting magic itself, but a whole lot of talent when it came to knowledge about it. Since we knew he was not a fighter but a scholar, it was deemed appropriate to leave him behind in Pandora, so he could use his knowledge to help organize society while the rest of us were away. Especially in terms of continued development of the crystal science. We hadn't known how long we would be gone, so we wanted to leave the city, and all that influenced in good hopes. Sunburst wanted to do this anyway. He was overjoyed for a long chance to study an ancient civilization that got lost in all known equestrian records. I can't tell you how many notes he has collected over the years, and I thought I was a prolific writer. So I guess his notes are gonna be put in the Red Crystal Library as well, because I'm pretty sure that Quill wouldn't like this knowledge to be missing. Because this Sunburst is also a time clone, I guess. Another thing I will mention was your mother and I decided that it was finally time to get married. We had already considered doing this in the time period, along with friends and family that would not exist in our own native timeline. Towards the end of our northern march, however, we grew too busy to seriously consider it further. I don't think it crossed either of our minds. Even once, while Fluttershy was apparently poorly napped, we could not fully relax, nor fully get into the joy and spirit of the ceremony, knowing she was missing and potentially in pain. But after we had regathered all our friends, we turned our attention to this issue once again and decided it was finally time. You know, you could have used the magic of love to actually not just stop the Dark Star, but actually stop the Dark Star and deal greater damage to it. They could have actually married near the Dark Star while they are fighting it. I know that's not easy, but they could have done that. It's a good idea that he probably did. Scan those notes, leave the record of it in that crystal. Yep. Now, the reason I won't go into full detail of this because you will choose to become more fully involved. Because since you revealed yourself anyway, when you thank the Master, you also become more clean about your reason and purpose in this timeline. Subsequently, you also became more involved in the wedding ceremony, which was something I trust you had looked forward to many years prior. Probably because of what I'm telling you right now, and also because of what I'm not telling you right now. For now, I will leave the most of it to your imagination, but know that eventually you will experience it yourself in full detail. I will say that it was a meaningful moment for my parents and uncle, and especially to your grandmother, Silver Shine. She knew by then there was no way she would live long enough to ever see her granddaughter in any other way other than she went back to then. So this was her one chance to connect with you for the first and last time. Again, I leave it at that. Even if I wanted to tell you what happened between you, I have a keen feeling a lot have happened behind my back anyway. Funny you should say that. My mom said something similar for them to marry each other while charging the crystal. Yep. We know that love is one of the strongest magical energy, right? I also won't go into detail how long the ceremony took to prepare, other than by saying it was more than 1 day. Again, I leave it for you to discover the full details when you get there. Halloween chuckled as he recalled something amusing, and he decided to go ahead and add this one little detail. He is such a tease. I will say one thing near the conclusion of the ceremony that happened that was kinda funny. You weren't there anyway, so it's safe to tell you this. Even if you were there, I kind of doubt you would remember this detail after all these years, but when your mother tossed the bouquet of flowers over her, I suddenly became savage beast and tore her way towards it to catch it with startling determination. I already found that surprisingly out of character for her, considering she was supposed to be the element of generosity, but I was even more surprised and amused when Applejack threw down her hat to the ground in frustration and cursed Rarity with colorful descriptions of rotting rappers for doing this again. In response, Rarity claimed she just could not help herself. Applejack caught her eyes and replied that she wished Rarity would get married already, so the rest of the mares in the ceremony would have a fair chance to catch the bouquet of flowers instead of her for once. Because even if you catch the bouquet, it doesn't mean that you are getting married. It supposedly means that you are the next one who gets married, but Spike. that's all I'm gonna say. Not but Spike. Snappy's giggled. Featherwind tapped his hoof on the ground with a doubtful look, trying to recall if there was anything else he should add that he could recall was important, and was something the future version of his daughter was not involved with. He drew a blank at many turns either, because there was nothing worth mentioning, or his daughter got too involved by that point. There was a lot he could have mentioned, but he figured it would leave it to his daughter to discover this for herself someday. It was a cherished memory for him, and something to look forward for her. There was no need to spoil everything for her now. There's a lot I can mention at this point because of your future involvement. For now, I leave it to your imagination. You have plenty of time to decide what will happen, but mind you, the results might still surprise you. You can't plan for everything in the future, no matter what you think now. You had plenty of time to change your mind by then, and you did it for reasons that have not even occurred to you yet. It's still a good mental exercise whenever you decide to explore this, and someday, what you imagine in the future will become cherished memory of the past. Another thing I will briefly mention was that we finally found out how to ignite those flameless fireworks Doctor had been storing in the TARDIS for quite some time now. Apparently, they needed love to ignite, and there was plenty of that to go around at the conclusion of the ceremony. Takeshy was especially captivated by them, then forcefully grabbed the Doctor's cheeks to direct his attention towards her, as she demanded to know the recipe to make them. Well, if that's true, then flameless fireworks would be the next best things to doves at weddings, because flameless fireworks are basically, if they are flameless, they are definitely not that dangerous, and they don't shit around everywhere. They are not doves. But then, after the ceremony and several other things that happened, it was time for us all to depart. Here's where I mention a new plot twist. Your grandfather and grandmother, Otter Skull and Silver Shy respectively, did not join us for the threatened trip. They really were time clones, but somehow the Doctor altered them so they could age appropriately. I can't even tell you when he did it. Maybe it was true all along, because somehow he knew they would one day decide this. My original father still wanted still waited for me back in my own time, totally oblivious to what his time clone copy of himself had done in the ancient past. But that time clone copy knew that Silver Shine was not in the future, and he wanted to spend the rest of his days with her as much as he could, obviously. He also decided this because he knew it would not take away anything from me. He knew his original self waited for me back when I came from, but he himself could not bear to part from his beloved wife a second time. If Takeshy has been there, you agree that she would want to know how to make them, right? Yep. I demand to know. She would probably take them apart. She would try to take some, but all of them ignited, so it wouldn't. She didn't have a chance to check them because there was way too much love for them to not to be ignited. I am actually surprised that they realized that they ignited because they were in the TARDIS. But this is a double-edged sword right here. Yes, his time clone can stay with his wife for an extended period of time. But then again, he will have to experience her dying again. A second time. Unless they die at the same time. Because they can age. I asked them if they were sure about the decision, and I realized as soon as I asked it, it was a stupid question. Part of me was even tempted to remain behind, so I could also be with my mother once again. She bid me to leave though, so I could live out my life to the fullest back in my own time. She said, I kept my new wife and myself for my fathers and family in my time long enough, and since I was one of the few real ones there, my decisions had lasting consequences. Long enough? What's long enough for a Time Lord, right? Besides, she reminded me, I had important objectives to accomplish in my timeline as well, and we could not risk deviating from it, so I hugged her tightly, as tears squeezed out in my eyes. I barely croaked out the words that expressed how much I loved her. She said she knew, and she gave me one last loving lullaby. My emotions sound like an ocean, Grant, when I heard her voice singing to me with such passion and love, and it brought with it a treasure trove of nostalgic memories. It was a moment that taught me how fragile and precious life really is, and I felt assured that would encounter her spirit again when I passed on someday. Okay, makes sense. I just read your chat. I believe my red crystal absorbed all the emotion without me even thinking about it. As I grew more attuned to the crystals, so too did it grow more attuned to me. We both changed, and it learned to anticipate when I would want to absorb the positive emotions around me. Considering how the master had emptied the crystal to summon the TARDIS, I also knew I had a long way to go refill it, so that it could one day save the Crystal Empire. Luckily, it does not suck away happiness and positive energy from ponies. It's just taking it from the atmosphere. Because this red crystal is basically a chrysalis. Right here. It's a changeling. 1.0. Who knows? It can be a changeling. Because they can change into rocks as well, and crystals as well. Stubbies privately wondered around at the time if temporary time clones could create permanent force in the ancient past. If so, they probably were the first true unicorns the world had ever seen, born in the timeline. It also lived among them as permanent residents, and they had a pretty powerful bloodline at that. Before I parted from my mother's warm and loving hug, she whispered into my ear and begged me not to look back as I turned away to leave. That was a very hard request, but when I finally did part from her, I went into the TARDIS and did not look back. I was still aware that Starving hugged my mother right after me, but I did not see it directly. I just knew it in my gut. He did not look back, and her mother probably gave Starving something. Yes, it's sort of gains a copy of positive energy. That's what we want. A copy. It does not take it away, it just copies it. Life is a gift. Starbreeze, cherish it while you can, as a reward for all my heroic deeds, and those I was still committed to accomplish later. I had one last chance to get to know my mother over those past 2 years, and those are memories I added to my already formidable collection of cherished memories. There is still more to come as well, even beyond our lives. To find out what happens next, all I had to do was turn the page in this book of my life. That is a stopping point, but we are not stopping. Oh, I just remembered something important I should mention right now. Before I entered the TARDIS, into the TARDIS timeline, I heard my name whispered in the wind. I turned to look for the source of that voice, and I saw a cloaked figure standing right behind the tree. When I saw her eyes, I saw that she was blind, and I immediately realized who this was. Didn't you say that you didn't turn back? Question mark, question mark? That's a lie. You turned back. Excuse me for a moment. I will catch up. Featherwind called to those who were gathering inside the TARDIS. Then he left to gallop his way to meet with the older version of Vision in a secret. As he drew closer, she backed up further behind the tree to remain unseen, likely from her past self in particular. Well, hello, Vision. Featherwind greeted upon arrival. It's nice to see you again. That makes one of us, Vision said bluntly. You have failed Heidi's request? What happened in Heidi's request? Do you say it to me or Quill? For interest, when I wrote this chapter, I actually did forget to add this scene, so I did it later. I did plan on it. Featherwind was taken aback for a moment, because she made it sound like it was actually unpleasant to encounter him again. But then he realized something was, she was being literal when it comes to the specific word, see. At that point, Featherwind gained all expression as she said with annoyance and slight amusement. Must you put it that way? You know what I mean. Oh, Hades. I never saw it with eyes. Alfred was allowed to take his body back from death as long as he ever looked back on his way out of the underworld, but he turned back in the last moment. Oh, that. Okay. Because he sucks. But this reminds me of Toph in in the Lost Airbender. You know, I'm blind. Of course I do. The other vision said with a slight giggle. After she calmed down, she said, "The truth is, I called you here because I knew this will be the last time we will encounter each other, as we are right now. It's actually true, going both ways. We both change a lot from this point on. You still have your own journey, and I have mine. There are a few more adventures in my best self will share with you, but between us, as we are right now, this is it. This is our final goodbye together." Listening to outside noises. Featherwind regarded her fondly. It's been one amazing ride together, hasn't it? We were there for you since you were a little filly. In a way, I kind of feel like your father, which is odd considering you always seem to have wisdom even beyond my years. It's been a strange relationship. Oh god, it's the trash people, trash collectors. I don't know why I said trash people. It's been a strange relationship, but a very good one. We saved each other's lives so many times, as well as others. So now we move on to experience the reward of that effort. Wherever you go, and whatever you do, you know that you will always have a special, very special place in my heart. And you, and you. Which I returned evenly. Then she said, "There's one more reason I cut you out here. I'm sorry for the noises if you can hear them. It's loud for me, probably not too loud for you." She turned her back and reached into her saddlebag. From there she pulled out a book with her mouse. She turned her head forward again to offer it to Featherwind. Featherwind seized it in a silver magical aura and had it float in front of him. He proceeded to read the title out loud. Predictions and Prophecies. Featherwind read aloud, then shrugged as he stared in the book, floating off to the side, in order to look at her again. "Yeah, sounds like something you would write, although I'm curious how you pulled this off, since you can't read or write, unless somehow you learned how, since the time of your younger self." Quill, Featherwind. Featherwind, Quill. You forgot your own name. Your own name. You are a writer first and foremost. Then you can fly. You know vision. You don't think that she can just dictate all of her predictions and prophecies and you can write them, or any pony else? Maybe some time later in the future. I've gained plenty of ways to circumvent my former weaknesses over the years. All the vision explained to Featherwind. Also know that book is not meant for you. Vision followed him. You may copy it and read it in your crystal gem at your leisure, but know that the vast majority of the prophecies at the book talks about is ahead of your timeline. And because of our time-traveling adventures, we already know the results of more than half of them anyway. Rather than you, the book itself is actually meant for Princess Celestia, and not the version in the TARDIS right now. She will soon disappear anyway, so it will not avail her. Besides, many of the predictions that in that book already came true in her timeline, so there is really no point in reading it again. In that case, you mean the version of her in my timeline? Featherwind realized calmly. Vision nodded. Correct. I wrote her this book because I know my past self will not be around much longer to continue her services to the princess, as much as she might hate to admit it. She has grown rather accustomed to my past self's assistance. I have helped her guide her to save innocent pony lives many times after all. Just like what the doctor said. Having her is being too easy. She's a cheat code. That is among her beloved citizens. She is more than grateful for that, which is why she has also come to rely upon it. Since I also know my past self will stop becoming available soon, I'm leaving her this book to help replace me, and also self to give her hope for a brighter future. Give it to her with all my love, but also tell her the following message. Vision took a single step forward, as if to emphasize what she was about to say next. Vision took a single step forward, as if to emphasize what she was about to say next was especially important. Tell her the future is always up to us. Tell her that the future is always a choice, so advise her to make it a good one. I will tell her, my friend. I promise. After Father Wind said that, he stood up to her and embraced her in a warm hug. This is why there were no friendship parties in Canterlot before. Celeste knew that she had to hold it one day, but until that point, there was no friendship parties. I'm not gonna say anything more because that's because I'm referencing the movie. We have probably seen it all, but some might not have yet. Goodbye, my friend. Well, wherever the stars take you, I know that I will always hear you in the wind if you call out my name. I wish you peace and fulfillment in your own journey as well. Tell your daughter in the future about this conversation as well, and the fact that I wish her well in her journey too. Starvis blushed happily after seeing that. I will. Felamin promised again in the past. When they parted from the hall, Felamin watched the other version of Vision back off, and sat down in a meditative pose. She crossed her hind legs and sat up straight. At first, her forelegs were held up to her sides. She made a humming noise with her throat, which was subtly accompanied by her sunny eyes. As she opened her eyes steadily, not only did the noise get louder, but Felamin could also see her eyes glowing pure white. She started floating and then disappeared. Yep, that's what I said. As this process continued, she suddenly started to float off the ground to a maximum of 3 feet. Eventually she smashed her 4 hooves together, then disappeared in a flash of amazing Discord's powers, except the whole process was way slower. The whole process took about half a minute. Yep, I knew she would just go away in another timeline. This made Felamin realized how she was able to suddenly appear whenever or wherever she was needed in this timeline. She could teleport through time and space at will, without the need to use a potion anymore, and her psychic visions also gave her heads up before she arrived there. Yet he had to admit to himself that was very nifty set of powers. Yep, luckily she has her visions, so it's much easier to teleport when you know where you are teleporting, right? Even through time and space. Looking somewhat fondly at the spot she was once on, he soon realized there was nothing left for him here anymore, so he took it back to the TARDIS, with the books she gave him floating beside him. He eventually transferred it to Young of Vision's Dimension Saddleback for temporary safekeeping. It was a little mind-blowing to realize that was the same saddleback her other self would pull out the book out of shortly after it was created, only to go right back into the same bag temporarily in the past. No, it's a time paradox. This was never written. This book was never written. It was just happened. This book actually is here because he himself put this existing book from the future back into the past. It makes no sense, but the future is very strange. that's for sure. But the rest was excluding my parents. You, because you had your own alternative, and those native that the timeline, all gathered inside the TARDIS. I marveled for a moment. How crowded it seemed. I've been in this thing through many wonderful adventures. I had never seen it this with so much company before. Pinkie Pie was especially rambunctious. She was bouncing all over the place and asking what all sorts of buttons and the console of the TARDIS did. Being a genius that he was, Dr. wisely made sure the console controls were locked before she started reckless playing with it. Nevertheless, I half expected her to succeed to use TARDIS anyway, using raw instinct alone, or some other kind of freaky relative-bending logic. Because she can do that. While her abilities could often make her both comical and mysterious, I also learned long ago it was unwise to underestimate her. The ability to surprise others tends to be a major stick with her, because it's part and parcel of the element of laughter. So, I therefore learned to remain on my guard around her despite how much I also enjoyed her antics. Her friends had a difficult time to get her to settle, until shortly we started to take off. Around that time, some creature mentioned that what they were doing was basically marching towards their deaths. Those words quickly soured the mood of all those gathered, except for maybe Missy, but her previous life daughter was among those time clones, and it was possible that this fact stung her as well. After everything Missy sacrificed to protect her daughter, this version of Takeshy was about to fade away into oblivion, and only a few would be left to remember what happened. I'm starting to... You do recognize that book's title, right? No. Actually, no. Did we see it in the... actual show? I don't remember. For other time clones that had gathered there, this was the finest adventure that had never happened to them. This was one of the massive downsides of Doctor's strategy. It gave them a lot of neat advantages during their stay in the ancient past, and it allowed them to help without causing major disruption in their own native timeline. This was just a side story for them. One would shortly be erased, but all but a few. And also, I'm gonna need to take a little bit of break to get a drink. Now that I'm back, you can tell me if should I recognize the book's title? Doctor said he did not need to drop them off one by one. There was a cluster of pulsars, quasars, black holes, and all kinds of unusual spatial anomalies he could fly past. That would erase them all at once, and he figured that would be more merciful than having them wait one by one for their turn at virtual extinction. It was in the very first episode? Oh, that was the title of that. Oh, That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Come to think of it, if Twilight read that book, how come she has never did something about some things that she have read before? There were some things that could have been changed easily, or not predicted, but stopped from being happening. Because we know that Vision's futures or predictions are not something that are set in stone. You can change them. I will say that this could offer them to give a permanent home, so that they did not have to fade away. He even offered to recreate the entire world, so they could live out the rest of their lives on it. I have to say that the offer might have tempted some of them. Doublejack put an end to that would-be discussion by putting her hand on her chest and said she had to be honest with the fact. Although the offer was greatly appreciated, these chaotic powers would never be able to recreate the world exactly how they left it, and those gathered here had friends and family they wish to return to. Facing oblivion was preferable to a lifetime of solitude away from the loved ones who were not here. I looked at them, all in their somber mood. I noticed how Pinkie Pie's mane got deflated again, like a balloon that had lost its air. That was never a good sign, and one disheartening to see. A lot of them were nearly in tears, including me. We had been through so much together, and it hadn't felt right that only reward for their work was to get erased from existence. But this was natural consequence of the Doctor's plan all along. Win or lose, they would fade away either way. At least they got to go down with the solace of knowing they had to save the world, and they also knew there was a small handful of them that could remember all their remarkable deeds. I recorded a great deal of it myself. But I didn't read the whole book, I guess, and Celeste discouraged her to read the rest, if you recall. But also remember, Celeste knew that Twilight would be victorious over Sombra. And the Return of Crystal Empire, she just knew. Well, we know that the Return of Crystal Empire is something that is basically a steady point in time. Then I have another question. How the hell did Celestia not realize that her sister is turning into Nightmare Moon? Only when it was too late. They all knew this was coming, but when the moment came, it was so depressing to see them in pain and simply wait for the end to come to them. These were all such very good souls. They deserved way better than this, especially after all that they had accomplished together. No, I'm gonna answer my own question. She already knew. She was just trying to pull it away that no, she is still fine, I still have time. Because it doesn't mention when. It only happens, it only says some predictions like when the 4 stars align together, this is gonna happen, but not exact time that it in 2020 June 19 or something like that. No, it just says that it's gonna happen sometime when this happens. Doctor, what are you doing? Missy asked about the blue out of blue, while the depressed crowd waited for the end. Wow, that event happened well over 1000 years ago, long before Vision was born. That's true. But then again, if she wanted to change the things that happened so badly, then she could have they could have handed the book to much earlier version of Celestia as well. There's a theory that Celestia was the one who freed her sister. I can wait. Okay. We are piecing together. Celestia put the book predictions into Twilight's library. She was reading it in her own home. She put it there, planted, to make sure. Oh yes, don't read it, but read it because I put it there. Don't read it. Then she freed her sister because she knew that her sister would be redeemed. That might be something that happened. Also, how are we not talking about how Nightmare Moon gathered her own Pegasi from the moon? I think Featherwind looked back to himself to see the doctor with a determined and somewhat excited look on his face. What I need to do. The doctor said with determination and focus as he kept fiddling with the TARDIS controls. What needs to be done? You have done so much for me. You have all sacrificed so much to help me succeed in my mission. I cannot, in good conscience, send you off to oblivion without one last hurrah. Where are you taking us, Doctor? Princess Celestia asked as she approached and spread her wings just slightly. He's delaying the inevitable. That's what, Miss said with a sour disapproval. That's what he always does. Doctor, you are only making it harder for them in the long run. You're giving them more time to contemplate their doom. Usually, I'd be the first to celebrate this, but in this case, the issue is kind of personal to me. Around the end of the statement, the TARDIS groaned to a stop, and there was a plop sound as the TARDIS gained full solidity whenever it landed. The doctor sighed. You mean the bad ponies which appearing in the show only at one time? Yep. Still, they are a thing. I have a feeling that Celestia gave her those to be able to return to Earth or Equestria. Doctor sighed as he bowed his head over the controls. Then he looked around and told the bell of friends gathered around him in the TARDIS. As he said, I have never had this many companions join me on one of my adventures before, especially not a single adventure that lasted this long. Time comes or no, you all sacrificed a moment of your time to help me save the world. Even you, Missy. Someone who usually is my greatest nemesis. He glanced at Missy as he spoke to her, then resumed his speech with another scan around those gathered around him. In that whole time, you endured the loss of missing your friends and family back in your homes. And we have all endured the worst nightmares in the source of all evil magic in Equestria to throw at us. You have all demonstrated why you are all such extraordinary friends, and in my eyes, you are all legendary. Every single one of you. For all that you have done for me, and for all that you have endured, I offer you a choice. You can face oblivion now. I will understand if you find that easier. Or you can join me on one last grand adventure, and this time, I promise you it will be fun. I think they would put it in action and probably cave dwellers. Probably can see better in the dark or have echolocation. Maybe. Fun? Pinkie Pie repeated. Her intrigue and excitement immediately perked her up. Her mane instantly inflated again, back to its usual bouncy, cotton candy-like substance. Yes, my pink furry friend, fun. Dr. promised more enthusiastically. Beyond the doors of the TARDIS, he gestured to the exit, is an exotic island adventure designed for vacation purposes. To all that visits this place, it has exotic animals, spas, swimming pools, and water slides, and waterfalls, and clear crisp oceans, libraries, gorgeous skies, and parties and jungle adventures, and gem caves and games. It has all kinds of stuff for every single one of you. And best of all, he stood up and threw up his forelegs in an explosion of excitement as he said, "It's all completely free!" Handing back on his forelegs. That's right, my friends. The natives here have access to unlimited resources. I won't say how, but I guarantee you it's not malevolent. I can assure you of that, as I would have not brought you here. It's a pleasure for the natives who live here to meet Indians from all over the galaxy and the universe. They choose to live here specifically for that purpose, so their only goal in life is to please you as much as possible. Doctor, there is no such thing as free. We all know that. There is no such thing as free. Something is behind this. Some of them are very wise as well, and can help you through the psychological issues. So what do you say, my friends? Will you join me on one last grand adventure together? Is it a gender change word? Nope. I don't think so. It's a different word, because they did not change genders. They all took a long moment to debate this, and most of them were pushing for it. At first, Cersei argued that they should not delay their inevitable too long, and they should remain on the island no more than one day, but she was haggled up to accepting 1 week. So, we spent a week on the island paradise. We successfully lifted our spirits, so I shall commune with the local animals. Rarity hung out at the beach, spa, and gem cave. Rarity was all over the place, often hanging out with her friends, including Wonderboards. Twilight spent less time in the library than I suspected she would. Mostly she just hung out with her friends, or relaxed at the beach. Sunburst was all over the library himself. Pinkie Pie partied hard, of course, and made a big splash with her cannonballs in the swimming pool. That splashed out over half of the water, and again I had to remind myself with a blink of astonishment never to question her. Applejack mostly just spent time with her friends. She enjoyed the local cuisine, though she criticized a few of them. Come to think of it, I'll be repeating myself too often. If I went through them all one by one and kept mentioning the fact they just hang out with my friends, it was one of the biggest points of our stay there. A lot of them also told me their adventures, including more about what happened with that epic battle against Fang and the other monsters. A few special notes. I was pleased to see Takeshy hanging out with Missy on a pleasant basis, her own former father. Master's transformation into Missy apparently gave them a chance to connect in a brand new way. It was like a fresh start, and this time their relationship proceeded far more positively. I suspected that the most important factor was that there were fewer secrets between them, so that helped them to open up to each other more at that point. They also had far more in common with each other than they used to. Takeshy was actually excited to the chance to get her former father into all sorts of girly stuff As for Missy, well, she was actually harder to read. She cooperated with her daughter, I know that, but I think she kept thinking about the fact that this version of her daughter was about to disappear, and unlike Trixie's normal tricks, she would not reappear this time. Are you sure about that? My instinct told me that Missy in Tours was actually the other man's last request before death, but deep down, Missy maintained a bit of an emotional barrier against forming an attachment to some pony she knew she was about to lose. At first, Sombra was reluctant to join the festivities at all. He didn't even want to leave the TARDIS. I had a pretty strong hunch that she felt that Faye, out of a continual sense of guilt over what his future or his self did, and that, in turn, caused him to fear he didn't deserve this fun. But even after all this time, I think he was still surprised how much every other pony and creature really cared for him. That court was really surrounded when it came to resistance to his reluctance to join. And I'm sure that Princess Freya's opinion mattered to him the most. I have a feeling that when she expressed how nice it would be for him to join the others along with her, he probably interpreted that as royal command in his own head, even though it was intended as innocent suggestion. Still, I'm glad he did join. Even that old Graham formed up the idea over time. He was even able to entertain the natives beyond crystal shows that actually left the Parliament and welcomed Mark on the island. There are two other things I would like to add about Sombra's stay on the island. One of them was the fact that he encountered a copy of Angel's Song on the island. Compliments of Discord. That was actually a big deal for him, because it was the reason he later chose to remain on the island when the others left, living out the rest of his life with a virtual copy with his love. Oh, that's nice. They are not something that they can change. They are not getting older. Because the doctor didn't change them. Not all of them. Only his father and mother, right? That of course leads to the second thing I need to mention. This version of her was willing to do that too, and basically what her and herself would have gladly done anyway if her memories of him returned, which it did in this case. She always hung around him in the past in order to help her feel complete, and when I got to know her better with her original memories intact, it quickly occurred to me why the doctor did not invite her to the ancient past. She was way too timid. This was similar to Fluttershy's emotional handicaps, except Angel's Song had lower self-esteem to root. The Darkstar would have crushed her spirit far too easily to be an asset as an ally in the past. Left in an unthreatening environment, however, caused her to heal and flourish in spirit. She really was the delicate flower, but with the right conditions, she bloomed beautifully. Well, we actually had another wedding for the second time in less than a week, but this time it was between the time-clone best version of Sombra and his beautiful blushing bride, Angel's Song. It was definitely a very good experience to add to my Red Crystal collection. In a way, this was all just a dream, but a beautiful dream that would one day help to restore the Crystal Empire. How appropriate it was that their love for each other would one day help save every pony that they love back at the Empire. Like I said, very known for the side of points of our vacation here. So, Sombra and Angel's Song are still there on the island after you left? Stubby asked hopefully, with rising gushy excitement. Maybe, but I haven't been informed. Or they left the island together, who knows? I can easily picture them retiring there for the rest of the days, probably entertaining the other customers that visit the island. He with his wondrous crystal magic, and her with her healing heavenly voice. He had with him what he cared about the most, and he also knew that I had Red Crystal, with the intent to restore his beloved home back in Equestria. This was his paradise, and the best he could have hoped for under the circumstances. Wow, my voice is really going away. Angel Song was also happy to be with him, and that was enough to ensure that they decision together. I always think of that when I compare it to the dark, alternative path of his earlier self took. It felt reassuring that life found a way to sneak in happy ending to their story. Somewhere. It just felt right seeing them together like that, and I felt immensely happy for them. I felt like something was missing. Was finally whole again. Crystal Sage noticed this as well, deeply in the red crystal, and I felt ever since that he had another check mark ticked off in his heart, which would have prevented him from fully being ready for the next phase of his life. He didn't say much to me about the situation when I asked him, but I felt a sense of peace from him when he regarded this. I also find it ironic that the one pony who opposed the vacation the most also ended up the only one permanently remaining behind. Go figure, I'm pretty sure even he hadn't seen that one coming. That's true. Meanwhile, at my friend's request, I took a lot of pictures with the red crystal and my magic. My mother played lots of sport activities, and before you ask, no, she did not cheat using her own enchantment magic. Remember, she enjoys the challenge, and she has a firm sense of her honor. If her opponents couldn't do what she could do, then she wouldn't consider using such powers herself. The point of those games was for every creature to have fun, and so it was. She reminds me of Applejack in that sense. I'm actually not sure what the younger version of Vision was up to. I assume she meditated somewhere out there in a spiritually wonderful place. I could easily imagine someone doing that too, but no, she too hung out with her friends while she could. Thus, it seemed like Vision was the only one content to remain in isolation, and I have a feeling she did it to explore her psychic visions towards, I don't know, some end? As for the doctor, he could prove almost rambunctious as Pinkie Pie sometimes, since he had nearly as much energy. Recall the fact that similar to the time clones, the doctor also appeared to be immune to the need for sleep. So he had the time of his life on that island. Dr. Derpy mostly hung out with him, but upon various requests, she also hung out with some of her more feminine friends, to do what girls normally do when they are alone together. I assume you will find out what that's like someday. Like that day, because probably Derpy was hanging out with her as well. And for once, this blessed vacation was born on the lucky star, because no serious disaster or monster or villains tried to crash the party. I kept expecting it to happen eventually, especially with the likes of Discord and Missy proving about, but the worst they did was perform a few pranks. Don't discount that. You missed listing someone, which is Doctor, who is basically a trouble magnet. They wouldn't beat themselves without a few evil deeds here and there, but overall, the entire experience was benign for once. Which brings me to my conclusion. Our friends gathered together faithfully back to the TARDIS at the end of that week, except for Sombra, and even he met up with us at the door, but standing outside of it with his new life. We said our goodbyes to him there, then took off. This time, as the TARDIS faced their energy together, they did so in a good cheer, for they felt very uplifted by the wonderful and fun vacation they just shared together. As the moment drew near, I also recall them singing together. Twilight Sparkle started it, but it was quickly picked up by the others. It was a short song, but deeply meaningful note for them to go out with. Though I have to say the lyrics were a bit modified to include various species that were part of our journey together, and it went like this. Equestria, the land I love, a land of harmony. Our flag does wave from high above, for all creatures to see. Equestria, land of love, where friendly kind do roam. They say true friendship never ends. Equestria, my home. That song was practically a national anthem of ours, and we sang it many times during our journey. Journey north to help lift our spirits in times of need. And during that time, as they stood in the TARDIS, they sang it again to remind each other how united we were. I stood on the rail overlooking them all and thanked them for the help and comfort they provided all these years. They smiled up at me and hugged each other as they regarded me while they faded away, leaving behind them very special memories that I will always cherish. That kiss does too absorb the emotions of that moment, which would come in hopefully later on, in unexpected ways. And that is the version of the song I first Quill have in this story notified to fit the fact that not only ponies who contributed to the fanfare, but the lyrics in this chapter definitely inspired by Equestrian The Land I Love, which is written by Taylor Ingram, sung by Tony Award. Okay, no credits taken, only honor it. Can we open it? Oh, it's this song, okay. I know that. And I closed the entire thing. Good job me. Good job me, that's fine. Now I realize what that song is. So let's switch to this. There we go. Also, let me reopen the the thing right here. But that's it. They faded away. Everyone faded away. Even except Missy, Doctor, Starbreeze, and the two main protagonists, and Vision, obviously. So 5 of them left. I'm curious what Missy is gonna do after this. Is she gonna hang out with the Doctor? I don't think so. But don't be so happy. We saved Equestria once. But don't forget, we will still have a puppet master. We still have the Crystal Heart to save. The Crystal Empire. That's a lot of things. Back in your own time. Kind of Jesse's song, yep. I think, again, as I said, the last chapter was still one of the best. And this is a fitting end to this, that they are having a party at the end. I just don't think that keeping Quill, Quill's father and mother there in the past is not a good idea. I don't think that's a good idea, because that is still changing the past. That would make a permanent mark on the past. So starts the third arc and the shortest of the 3, which is taking on the Puppet Master and saving the Crystal Empire, if I'm right. That was always a mess. It's always. That's true. I'm not even gonna check the titles yet. I have to say, I do think the next chapter is gonna be on Monday, if that's okay with you. I still haven't recorded anything, and I won't be able to do it today either. So I'm sorry about that. But normal episodes are gonna wait a little bit for everything. My backlog is way too much. But as I said, my sister is actually sleeping next door, so I don't think I will stay much longer. I hopefully didn't wake her up. And yeah, I don't have too much things to say about this, actually, because it was actually a farewell episode. He said farewells. Leaving them might be doing what was meant to be done, and the doctor often says time is flexible when it isn't fixed. That's true. That's true. That is true. Okay, see you all again on Monday. Thank you for listening, and see you next time. Bye bye.